Assalamu alaikum, family. As you can see, we're gonna get right into it tonight. But let me put it this way. What if I told you that you are too religious? Just too religious. What do I mean by that? Let's get into it.
I was told to deliver this message.
And we back, family. Shout out to everybody chiming in. We're going to get right through this. Greetings and blessings to everybody that are chiming in, the Nation Town family. And we are dealing with the fact that these days, people, particularly black people, really everybody on this earth, are just too religious. Too religious. Now, this is a touchy subject, but we're going to get into it. But first, let me start off in the proper fashion. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, who appeared to us in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad, to whom praises are due forever. I further bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. When I say Muhammad, I mean that with all due respect and love and gratitude to Prophet Muhammad, but specifically speaking, I'm speaking of none other than the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, who is that promised messenger of the Holy Quran for this nation. Because it says in the Holy Quran that certainly a messenger would be raised for every nation. But I would know nothing of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad or Master Fard Muhammad if it were not for the divine leadership and guidance of this beautiful brother right here, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And listen, man, in those three great names, I greet you in the words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. Isn't that interesting that we have a video titled that you are too religious, and then I start off in that wonderful fashion of bearing witness to a messenger, to God in person, and to a minister? Well, just follow me for a minute, but shout out to everybody chiming in. Sister Antisha, I see you, dear sister, and everybody else that's chiming in. You can hit us with your questions and comments. In fact, I need you to, I want you to. As I always say, and I always mean, we won't be on long. However, 1 second, family, while I take care of some technical situations. Right quick. But yeah, like I said, we won't be on too long, but we're going to get down to it and get with it, if that's all right with y'all. But what we're going to do, dear family, we're going to get into the fact that we are indeed too religious as a people. What do I mean by that? We're going to break that down quick, fast, and in a hurry. As I said before, it is a very touchy subject. And before we get into that subject, of course, make sure you go to YouTube. Go to YouTube. Shout out to our YouTube Nation Town family. I'm telling you, Nation Town, we moving. We moving. We not going nowhere as far as Facebook is concerned, but we're going to make YouTube our headquarters, so to speak. That and, of course, our own platform. But make sure you go to YouTube. If you don't have a YouTube account, if you have a Gmail account, you have a YouTube account, go ahead and subscribe. Also, this is, as always, brought to you by NationTownStore.com. Shout out to all of our Nation Town Store family that's been showing us a lot of love. We got a lot of orders in. We're doing our best to get it out as soon as possible. Shout out to everybody that ordered today, ordered yesterday, and that'll order tomorrow. Support your own and be yourself. Go ahead and continue to support NationTownStore.com. And, of course, it's also brought to you by DoForSelf.net, where we give you a little bit of game, free game. And we're about to do a massive update on that as well. Again, shout out to everybody chiming in. I see you, Brother William. All praises due to Allah. But let's get right into it, family. I'm dealing with the fact that we are too religious. Really, every human on earth right now, particular, but Nation Town, we don't spend too much time worried about people outside of Nation Town. And what I mean by that, people outside of the so-called African diaspora, people outside of the Aboriginal people of this earth. So I'm primarily talking about us. Now, there are a few reasons why we get so touchy when it comes to just the overall topic of religion. It's a few reasons. First of all, religion, we've been lied to about religion for a long time. We've been given a very bootleg, stepped on, watered down, remixed, cursed idea of God and religion in general. So you talk to certain black people, especially in this day and age, you're going to get a certain reaction. You're going to get a reaction out of them that you can't get really with any other subject. And as I said, it's primarily because you've been told so many lies about religion. For example, one of the biggest lies, I can't say the biggest, but one of the lies is that you've been given this ridiculous Superman depiction of God in your mind, this superhero depiction of God, this type of God that, you know, when bad things happen, somebody's in danger, a damsel in distress, as they call it, God will swoop down and save the day. And he will and he can, but you turn on the news, you see people starving to death all over the earth. You see terrorist attacks. You hear about a murder over here, a rape over there, a robbery over here. And you might ask the question, where is God? These religious ministers, reverends, and all of them, they lying to me. They lied to me, like Denzel said on training day. You lied to me. Another reason is the fact that religion, let's be honest, has been used as one of the most volatile and divisive weapons in the history of the world. You can just ask Constantine. He said, in hoc signo vinces, with this sign I conquer. You had the Spanish Inquisitions, where the Catholic Church basically banged on the world and essentially forced people to accept the Catholic religion, just forced them to accept. So you have these situations. Not only that, people will tell you that Christianity was forced on the African slave. Absolutely forced on the African who was made into a slave, and Christianity was one of the most potent weapons that they used in order to turn the African, the god, the king, the Aboriginal man into a slave. And then, of course, you got, some woke scholars out there that'll tell you, oh, yeah, Arabs had slaves too. And that is true. Not quite American chattel slaves, which is a totally different type of slavery, but Arabs absolutely, particularly Caucasoid Arabs, absolutely had slaves. Now, you have some Negroes who erroneously will fix their mouths to say, oh, well, Muslims own slaves. No, sir. That's an oxymoron. If you knew what you were saying, if you knew what the word Muslim meant. And really, to be fair, you can't really say Christians own slaves. Because if you think of what the word Christian denotes, even though it's really a derogatory word that was given and put on people who follow Christ and who follow Jesus, but you can't even say that Christians own slaves. They weren't really Christians. How could they be Christians? How could they be Christians? And of course, the Bible was tampered with. So there's some things in the Bible that they used in order to propagate slavery. So that's another reason that people have issue with religion, and religion is so much of it's a lightning rod. It's an issue that people get real funny about and act real strange about. So what we want to do in this episode, because I really want to point out the fact that really the world is just too religious. Just too religious. And I'm going to tell you the third reason. The third reason, and here's the real reason why religion has a bad rap. And I'm just going to keep it all the way 100, all the way live. The real reason you have a problem with religion is because it's an authority construct that you don't like. We don't like the fact that religions say you shouldn't act like this, you shouldn't do this. You should eat this, you shouldn't eat that. You should go there, but you shouldn't go there. You should come here, but you shouldn't come there. You see, we don't like that. It's almost like a teenager, a preteen who, gets so irritated by their parents because they know, even though the parents they want to do what's right by the child, to the child they just think the parent is trying to stop them from having fun. And we think that to take ourselves away from theology or theological religion, we're going to get to that in a minute, we consider that freedom. Oh, I don't believe in no religion. That's freedom. And you know what? In a lot of ways, it is freedom. It's freedom. It's the freedom to be dumb. And that's what is ushered in this world today. This devil, this world, this nation, this culture, America, gives you the freedom to be dumb, to do dumb stuff, and it's constantly fed to you, and you consider that to be freedom because, there's an old saying, pardon my English, when somebody is real nervous, they say, man, I was nervous as a whore in church. You ever heard that? And the meaning behind that is that, of course, if you're a prostitute and you're sitting in church and somebody's spitting that fire from the pulpit or the rostrum, you might feel a little guilty. So people don't really like that. They don't really like that. They want the freedom to do whatever they like, even though what you think you like, that was put on you just like many of the religions, because it is in fact a religion. But we're going to deal with that in a minute. Shout out to everybody tapping in. We see you, Brother Hakeem. Shout out to Brother Hakeem, the whole Nation Town family. And of course, I almost forgot. Make sure y'all hit us up. Cash App, $ Nation Town. Support your Nation Town family. Keep in mind that 10% of all Cash App donations go to the Yes Ma'am program. We're about to roll out a delivery to our people here in Los Angeles very soon, a new delivery. And of course, with the Yes Ma'am program, what we do is we deliver a meal and a message and also personal care products to the needy here in the city of Los Angeles, and hopefully sometime soon to other places as well. So let's go deeper into it. Let's go deeper into it. Let's hear first from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because for those of you who remember, whether you were around at the time, at the actual time, or just those who study the sojourn of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, then you're aware of the fact that in the 1980s, and really all the way up to this day, he's accused of being an anti-Semite. And they've gone through many different tactics to try to prove him or try to paint him. They've never tried to prove it, but to paint him as an anti-Semite. And they even twisted his words and said that he said that Judaism was a gutter religion. He never said that. But pay attention to his explanation where he exonerated himself of that charge.
Only one word there was out of place. I never used the word gutter. I use the word dirty. Now, there's a difference between the law of God, the teachings and commandments of God coming through Moses, or the teachings coming through Jesus or through Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon them, and the actions of men shielded under their names. In the commandments of Moses to Israel, we are told to set up no God but one God. We are told that we should not steal. We should not commit murder. We should not bear false witness against our neighbor. And we should not covet what belongs to somebody else. I do not feel that Zionism acted in the spirit of the scriptures of the Torah or the Bible or the Old Testament. For in my understanding of the scriptures, Ms. Freeman, in the dispersal of the Jews, it was because of a violation of a covenant made with God. And God's request of the Jews was to return to the law of Moses that they had forsaken, repent of their breaking of that law, and God would return the Jews to that land, and whosoever would bless Israel, God would bless them, and whosoever would curse Israel, God would curse them. Zionism is a political philosophy based on those who wanted to return to the Holy Land without fulfilling the precondition and without waiting for the Messiah who would lead them there.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Shout out to everybody chiming in. I see you, Brother Tevis. Absolutely, dear brother. Very interesting. Now, what's really notable about that explanation, which was just actual fact, that's what he said. He said that they're using Judaism as a shield for their dirty, dirty religion. Now think about So think about that dirty religion. Do you see what's wrong with that picture? It makes perfect sense. But he said that they're using Judaism as a means to shield their dirty religion. What is a dirty religion? Can a religion be dirty? Absolutely, it can be dirty. In fact, a religion can be many things. And that's my point when I say that we are too religious. But before we keep throwing that word around, that R word, let's be clear about something. Do you know what religion means? Think about it. Do you actually know what it means? I'll wait. I'll play the Jeopardy song. Because most of us don't even know what it is. You know how I know that most of us do not know what religion means? Because we say things like, I'm not religious. We say things like, religion has destroyed the world, which is some truth to that. We say things like, I don't trust no religion. We say things like that, and that proves you don't know what religion is. In fact, to say that you're not religious makes about as much sense if you know what it really means. It makes about as much sense as saying, I don't believe in breathing. I like to hold my breath every day and all day. I don't trust breathing. There's too many chemicals and stuff in the air. I don't do that whole breathing thing. You alive. If you still alive, you alive. So what does religion actually mean? Now, before we get into the definition, real quick, let's be clear about something. And I want y'all to respond in the comments, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, respond in the comments and you tell me, do you believe that your open enemy, white supremacy, the Caucasian, the devil, do you believe that he took from us our culture, our language, our religion? Do you think he contaminated our existence on this earth? Do you believe that? Hit me up, yes or no. Do you believe that? If you don't, you don't. Well, for those who are typing yes right now, you have to keep in mind that before your open enemy, the Caucasian, the devil, Satan, whatever you want to call him, your friend, whatever you want to call him, your buddy, before he laid a finger on you, before he laid a finger on your culture, on your religion, before he did anything to you, he did something to the language. In fact, we're taught in the Nation of Islam that when we drove the Caucasian into the hills and cave sides of Europe, we took everything from him except for the language. So if he went to work on the language before he went to work on us, that means that just like we have to discover our roots, that's what the whole book and documentary, well, not documentary, but the mini series came from, Roots, because Alex Haley supposedly went into his roots to find out who he really was. And it was a very enlightening journey because all of us, even white people that watched Roots or read the book, were enlightened. And that was sparked by a conversation that Alex Haley had with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So if we have to get to the root of the Aboriginal man and the black man to figure out who we are, you have to do the same thing with the language, especially the English language, because it is a grafted and bastardized language. It's been stepped on, contaminated, touched, molested. It's a terrible language. It's a Frankenstein language. So when you say a word, you got to know what you're actually saying. And you got to go to the root of it. And the root is very rarely English. It's usually taken from another language that is not English. What am I talking about? First of all, the word religious, you could break it down into two parts. One is the prefix. The prefix of religious, of course, RE. Whenever you see that RE is the prefix to a word, that means do it again, go back, or perpetually, perpetuity, do it over, go back. Reverse, rewind, redeliver, re. Every time you see that it means and it insinuates to go back, to do something over again, or to do it constantly, perpetuity, revolution. A revolution is a complete 360 turn. Revolutions. So we got that part. So means do it over and over and over again. Keep doing it. Go back. What about that second part? Well, if you go on Google and you do a quick little Google search, you're going to run into something. You're going to run into the connotation, the colloquial meaning of religion. But then, just like Alex Haley, you got to go to the root. And they're usually a hide net, so you got to click to go deeper. See how the screen keeps going down? That's because I had to go that deep to find what's known as the etymology, which is the root of the word. And there it is. You notice it doesn't say anything about English. It says Old French and Latin. Old French and Latin. Latin, the religion is from the Latin word religio or religate. And that simply means, let's go back to it. That simply means religio is to bind something, to tie something. The religare or religate is why when they find choke marks on a cadaver, on a dead body, they call it ligature wounds. Ligature wounds. Religare, ligature. That means to tie something, bind it together. So remember, the prefix is which means to go back. And the ligio or ligare means to tie or to bind. So go back and tie yourself. Go back. Keep going back. Keep doing it over and over. So whatever you do constantly, in revolutions, constantly, and can't nobody stop you. And if they try, you're going to keep trying to get back to it. That is your religion. Now, do you notice something? Let's go back and look at this. Look at this again. Because what's interesting about this etymology of the word religion is not just interesting as far as what you see, but sometimes the most interesting thing about a thing is what you don't see. Let's check it out. Get a closer look. Religare, to bind. Religio, obligation, bond, reverence. What you don't see is anything that relates to theology or God. So as much as we throw that word religion around, the word itself actually has nothing to do with God. Not the God, not the creator of the heavens and the earth, or the energy of God that appeared in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad. No. That's not what religion is talking about. According to the root, we went into the root of it just now. It's not talking about God at all. It's talking about anything that you constantly go back to and do over again, and constantly go back to it. Can't nobody stop you from going back. That's your religion. Now, to my Hotep folks, to my woke folks, to my black nationalist folks, shout out to y'all. I love y'all. This true definition of religion might sound familiar. It might sound familiar. It might remind you of a particular bird. You ever heard of Sankofa? Sankofa. That is a Ghanaian custom that simply means to go back and get it. That's why the universal image of Sankofa is a bird, or looks like a goose going back to grab an egg. A beautiful ideal to never leave something valuable behind. Always go back and get it. So essentially, to all of my woke atheists, my woke non-religious brothers and sisters, when you say Sankofa, by definition, you're saying religion. Now, I know y'all don't like that. I know you don't like that. But anything you go back to is your religion. That includes money, drugs, food, sex, other material things, sport and play. Anything you constantly go back to, that is your religion. I know. It's hard. It's hard. I know all this time you thought you probably wasn't religious. I ain't religious. I'm this. I'm just spiritual. Oh, okay. No, you religious. You religious as hell because you in hell. So you absolutely are religious in hell as hell. Do you understand? So, since we've confirmed the actual meaning of religion, now you got to ask yourself something. How many religions do you have in your mind? How many religions are you obligated to, like that etymology said? Most of us will find that we have many, that we are actually polytheists. When you start counting all the religions in your mind, the things that you constantly go back to and can't nobody stop you from going to, whether it's good for you or not, you keep going back to it. All praises due to Allah. Shout out to everybody chiming in. Don't forget to hit us up. $ Nation Town on Cash App. Shout out to everybody chiming in. I see you, Brother Christopher. Wa alaikum salam. But let's keep going. We won't be on long, but we're gonna deal with this. And we're gonna make some people mad. You know, I felt like the other day I was like, man, I ain't really made nobody mad like I used to. Let me get up under some skin, because this is a hot topic in the so-called conscious community. Because we have a grave misunderstanding of what religion actually is. So let's dig into religion for a minute. In fact, let me do this. I'm gonna prove, because this is Nation Town. You know, we try to prove what we say. We don't want to just throw a grenade out there and then just expect you to take it on face value. No, that's what your enemy does, and you usually do it when it's him. So even though some might consider me to be light skinned, I'm too black for you to just believe me on face value. So let me prove it a little bit, that we have many religions, and they are just as destructive. They are just as demanding. They're just as restrictive as any theological religion. Let me choose one of the other religions and compare it to what you think a religion is, just to compare and just to show you that what I'm saying is absolutely the truth. Some of y'all might not be able to handle this portion of the program. I'm going to prove to you that some of your other religions are every bit as much a religion as theological religion. Let's try one of the fastest growing religions in the world right now. Let's try marijuana. Ooh, marijuana is absolutely a religion in America right now, particularly amongst black people trapped in the wilderness of North America. But I'm going to go down the list of all the main tenets that you run into in theological religion. When I say theological religion, I'm talking about Islam. I'm talking about Christianity. I'm talking about Judaism. I'm talking about, you know, all that kind of Buddhism, all those kind of things. I'm going to show you that the same things that exist in Christianity and Islam and all of that, you can find it in those who take marijuana as a religion. Now let's get to it. First of all, In theological religion, you'll go to a place. You go to there's usually a temple or somewhere like a church that you go to. That's a well-crafted church that you're looking at. This is a mosque. This is Mosque Marian, the national headquarters of the Nation of Islam. Beautiful, beautiful structure. But what about the weed religion? Do they have a church? Of course, and they're getting bigger and fancier every day, especially since weed has been legalized. They got weed dispensaries that look like Apple stores. They have weed dispensaries in the hood that look just like storefront churches. I saw one that had the green, and it's even got a cross on it, but it's not the typical cross of Christ. It's the cross, that green medical cross. And when y'all see that, some of y'all be damn near getting into a car wreck to pull over and go get you some of that sticky, icky. So that's one thing. You got a church in the weed religion. Come on now. Let's keep it 100. Now you might say, well, grandma and them, these Christians and these religious people, they be spending all their money. And you know what? You're right. Christianity, you see right there on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, not just Christianity, but religion in America, period. This is a study that they did on the economics of religion and found out that theological religion in America is a $1.2 trillion industry. So yeah, grandma, she be emptying her purse every Sunday. And you know, last time you went to church, that tithe bucket passed every 15 minutes. Every time the pastor say, and the Lord said, here come that charity receptacle. Nation of Islam, you only gonna see that charity receptacle once, and it's up to you what you want to do with it. But let's look at illegal drugs and the illegal drug trade. Remember, 1.2 trillion in religion, theological religion. What about dope religion? With a world GDP of $36 trillion, in the same year, illegal drug trade may be estimated as nearly 1% of the total global trade. That equates to roughly $360 billion. But that's just illegal drugs. That's the kind that has to be smuggled in. As you can see, they got a little image of a boat sitting right there. That's just the kind that's illegal. What about the kind that's not so illegal? Don't forget about the pharmaceutical industry, which is the most powerful industry when it comes to lobbyists in Washington, D.C. In the pharmaceutical industry, the industry accounted for more than 1.3, now this is just in America, 1.3 trillion in economic output, representing 4% of the total U.S. output in 2015 alone. This total economic impact includes $558 billion in revenue from biopharmaceutical businesses and $659 billion from suppliers and worker spending. Now, math wasn't always my best subject in school, but 5 billion and some change, 6 billion and some change on the legal side, and then about 360 billion on the other side. It looked like dope and church are going neck and neck economically. And last time you checked, I would know. I've actually literally never stepped foot in a dispensary. I ain't saying that to brag. Maybe if those dispensaries existed back when I was a teenager, maybe I would have stepped in a few, but I've never stepped in one. But I'd be willing to bet. We don't bet in Islam. We don't bet in the nation, but I'd be willing to bet that you would have a hard time going in a dispensary and walking out with some weed for free. And if you know of one, let some of these brothers out here know who's spending all their money on weed. So don't tell me about grandma and the black community giving all these money to churches. We're giving all our money to the dope game, and where is that money going? Besides to helping an industry that has put so many of us in prison and put so many of us in the dirt. And then we take the actual dope itself and literally, it goes up in smoke, literally. So that's just the money part, the tithing part. We covered church, we covered the temple, we covered the tithe, and let's see if there's any other similarities. Now, when it comes to theological religion, you hear folks say, well, religious people, they spooky. They got this blind faith. They just trust their pastor, trust their reverend, trust their priest. See, I ain't with that. I'm smart. See, I ain't religious, man. I don't trust nobody. I don't trust nobody. I understand. And I get that. I get that. Because in theological religion, it's a lot of blind faith. I mean, they're so bold with it that even when you pick up a Bible, it tells you that it's holy. That's the first lie it tells. Because holy means something that's pure, sanctimonious, untampered with. But then right after that, it says KJV, the King James Version. Wow. And the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the Muslim program, he reminds the people that we believe in the truth of the Bible as Muslims in the Nation of Islam. But we also know that the Bible has been tampered with. Tampered with. What else has been tampered with in this world? Here's an article I found. How the government is turning legal marijuana into a massive surveillance state. Everybody worried about 5G, Illuminati. You need to be worried about that marijuana, bruh. You need to be worried about that sticky, icky. That's what you need to be concerned with. Because now, all of a sudden, all the illegal weed dealers have tried to turn legal. And they try to get a legal face or somebody who's got a clean record to be the front. You know, I ain't gonna get into all the ins and outs of it, but you know, they watching. They're watching. That's why to this day, you have a situation where states have legal marijuana, but the federal government is still considering it illegal. They watching you. And I don't know how y'all can trust. I can better understand grandma sitting in a church pew, putting all her SSI money in the pot, and bearing witness to a black preacher up there breathing hard at the rostrum. I can better understand that than any black man or woman trusting the government enough to ever walk into a dispensary, much less start one and sell one, and thinking that this same government, because keep in mind, all of the brothers and sisters who got football numbers for moving weed and other drugs, they still locked up. So let's keep going. In fact, I'm not even done with that point. Let's go deeper into that. And shout out to our brother, Dr. Wesley Muhammad. Not only do you trust the government when it comes to so-called legalized weed, you trust the contents of it. We're taught in the Nation of Islam, don't trust the Bible. Don't trust every part of it. We call it the poison book, because poison can be used to medicate and murder. But what about that weed? It says, of all the forces that will shape the future of medical marijuana, the rise of biosynthetic, which means bootleg, which means fake, biosynthetic cannabinoids stands to be among the most disruptive, one that could pose a major competitive threat to medicine derived from the cannabis plant. You think that weed you smoking is pure? Yeah, man, it's pure. How do you know? I grew it myself. Oh, really? Then why you just walk out that dispensary? You'll never catch me in a grocery store if I had a farm in my backyard. What the hell I need to go to a grocery store for? Why is there so much traffic in and out of the dispensary of everybody growing their weed? Oh, but you trust it. That's your boy. You know he ain't gonna put nothing, really. If he could put something, if he could spray some roach spray on it or something to make it smell stronger, to give you a better buzz, a better high, sprinkle some white girl on it, some cocaine. If he knew that he could do something to it that would get you higher and get you coming back more, If the federal government will do that with food and MSG, what makes you think your homeboy won't do it? And this baby mama trying to take him to court for child support. You think he ain't gonna try to get that extra little money out of you? Blind faith. Blind faith. That's all I gotta say. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it moving. That's just one similarity. Let's go to another one. You also have prayer in theological religion. One of the most powerful and beautiful things about Islam. I might be on maybe another 15 minutes, family. But one of the most beautiful things about Islam and most powerful weapons that we use is something called Fajr prayer. We do it just before sunrise every day. It is one of the most obligatory of the 5 prayers that we make. As you can see here, it says waking up for Fajr is the best way to start healing yourself. This is prayer. We make sure that we pray a minimum of 5 times a day, especially in the morning, before the morning, actually. And then in the weed religion, you got something called wake and bake. I know black brothers and sisters personally who will look me in the eye and say, Brother Landon, I really can't do nothing without blazing one up first. I mean, for real, they can't go to work. They can't wake up. They can't go pick their children up from the daycare. They can't go grocery shopping. They can't run up on the op. They can't do nothing before or without blazing one up. And I can relate because as a Muslim, I feel the same way. I feel so much better about doing anything when I say Bismillah, in the name of Allah. I try to say about 12 prayers a day. The 5 obligatory, and then there's a refuge prayer that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us. And I strive to make all 12 because in this world, I need them. I don't know about you. Maybe y'all got it all figured out. I don't. So I need them prayers. So I kind of get it from a religious standpoint that a weed head got to blaze one up. Everything they do, every step they take, every move they make, I get it. Because in my religion, I got to do it too. There's another similarity. Let's keep going down the list. Now, you might say, well, there's a lot of abuse in religion. Religion has been abused. It's been taken and it's been used for other things. Now, I already explained that. You know, you see what's going on in the Catholic Church and all these allegations. There's always a new allegation about some preacher, black or white, who they sleeping with or who they did this with. You got gay ministers, gay preachers, and all that kind of weirdo stuff. Yeah, I see that. And I just showed you how the government is using marijuana. But this is not a trustworthy world. So for those who are concerned with abuse, I got to ask you a question. If you know that this is a world filled with abuse and treachery, backstabbing, lying, cheating, murder, why would you even want to be high in a world like that? Wouldn't you want to be on point? Wouldn't you want to be 100% aware? Would you fall asleep in a bedroom covered in snakes? This is the United Snakes of America, and here you are walking around high as a kite. I digress. Let's keep it going. Some people say, like I said, that they need. You have theological religious people, they say they need their religion. Go talk to a weed head. He'll say, oh, I don't need weed. And then tell him, okay, we'll go a month without getting high. Man, I ain't doing that. You need it. And then, of course, in theological religion, you have congregations. You have congregations, and you also have the propagating of the faith. That's what it is when you see our watchtower brothers and sisters, our Jehovah's Witnesses going out there knocking on doors early Saturday morning. Don't nobody open the door. Everybody tell them, get the hell off my porch. We don't have that problem in the Nation of Islam. We do go door to door. We out there with our people, but they usually open the door for us. But that's a beautiful thing, the propagation of the faith. You see that in the Nation of Islam. It's one of my favorite aspects of being a Muslim. The brotherhood, the congregational factor, going amongst the people, propagating the faith. Take a look at my man hat right there. All praises due to Allah. Hey, one religion versus another. It's all good. That's my brother. Going out amongst our beautiful women, our beautiful sisters, our beautiful black and aboriginal people. But you also have that in the dope game. You have that with weed. You have that with every drug. Everybody that takes any drug or gets high in any way, shape, or form, you think they discovered it themselves? They were just walking through a field one day and came up on a hemp plant, a marijuana plant, and just blazed it up by accident? No, somebody propagated that. Somebody pushed that on them. They used to call dope dealers what? Pushers. In the Nation of Islam, we call moving the final call pushing the final call. So they got pushers in the dope game. They got pushers in the mosque, pushers in the church. They all pushing. Let's keep it going. One last thing. You know something is a religion when those that are indulged in that religion are very defensive about their religion, which would make sense. When somebody constantly goes back to something repetitively, perpetually, and they've devoted their life to it, of course they're gonna feel some kind of way when you come talking mess. In the Nation of Islam, you see that kind of thing. You know, we got like I love in our European region, we got a brother named Brother Leo Muhammad. He'll take a soapbox and a microphone and post up in a park anywhere in London and just start lighting Peckerwoods up. All praises due to Allah. Anybody that has questions, he'll take questions and he'll give answers. I love that brother. They used to do this all over the Nation of Islam, especially in the early days. Back in the early days of the minister and Brother Malcolm X, you know, they would post up right outside the church and start teaching. Right outside the church, catching them right as they leaving their church services. And then, of course, we know how our Hebrew Israelite brothers get down. They get the bullhorn. They got the whole high school project set up with the boards and the poster boards and everything set up. And they got, you know, they screaming. And they got the brother who read the verses, you know, read Proverbs 382. And boom, he on it. Boy, they go hard. They go hard. They go hard. But you know what? Go tell a weed head. Go tell a weed religionist that he can't get high. Now, you know, weed is a downer. It's really a low-key and laid-back drug. But if you ever want to see a weed head turn up, tell him that he should stop smoking weed. Tell him that his weed is a religion. Tell him that his weed is being weaponized. And watch how he acts. Ask our brother, Dr. Wesley Muhammad. He's received death threats, all kinds of hate and anger, even from so-called Muslims, just because he's telling the truth about the weaponization of marijuana. So that's when you know that what you're doing is a religion, when somebody can diss it or just critique it and you start feeling some kind of way. If it's not a religion and it's something you can either do or not do, you don't care about somebody saying something about it. If it's just a show that you watch and you ain't committed to it, you don't even watch all the episodes, and somebody say, hey man, that show is whack, you ain't about to get in no argument about it. You might disagree, but if they start getting heated, you be like, bruh, it's just a show. But you know something is a religion when you're so committed to it that you'll argue with. So some of y'all gonna argue with me about this. Y'all gonna be all in the comments on YouTube and Facebook. Oh, look at you with your religious self. All praises due to Allah. Now, let's go to something else, because in this is really an important topic, especially for this day and age. Because with the so-called woke generation, this new generation of young people, where it's like, oh, we woke, we doing everything, we are not our ancestors, you know, we'll throw hands. I ain't seen too many of them hands thrown, but okay, you know, and I'm a part of this generation. You know, and it's cool. But one thing that you'll find, you go to any Black Lives Matter rally, you go to any black nationalist rally, you're going to have a hard time finding people who consider themselves to be religious. But I've already explained the definition of religion. And when it comes to so-called woke and conscious Negroes who claim that they're not religious, what they've actually done is that their religion has changed. Their religion is either a gun or weapons, or it's some type of weed, drugs, or it's something that some people might even consider to be more sinister. Politics. I mean, what do you think you're looking at when you see a protest? When you see black folks, well-meaning black folks out in the street, no justice, no peace. Well, you ain't never, like our Western Regional Student Minister Abdul Malik Saeed Muhammad said, you ain't never got the justice part, so when you gonna get to the no peace part? And if you think no peace is just setting a car on fire and busting some windows and looting something, that ain't nothing. They got insurance to cover that. I'm waiting on the no peace part. But that's because now they've switched their gods. See, when they protested in the civil rights era, their God that they claimed was Jesus. And it really wasn't back then. And today, they've taken theological religion out completely. So now you can really see who their God is. Do you know that a protest is essentially a prayer? You're saying, give me justice. You're telling them you want them to recognize that your life matters. Who are they? What does their opinion about your life matter if it matters to God? It matters because they see, because they were all, I gotta be honest, they were all raised that way. They were raised to believe that anything they want out of life, anything they're gonna achieve or have, they're gonna have to get it from white supremacy. So they go out there and they protest and they cry and they scream and they fight. That's a prayer. That's how some of my prayers are. Some of my Fajr prayers and some of my lowest points. I done shed tears. I done sat there, man. Sometimes some people have testified that they screamed in their prayers. Because that's what it is. It's a petition. And it's literally in the legal world. Do you know that in a complaint that's filed in the court, when the plaintiff is suggesting to the judge and to the court in the paperwork that they want a certain kind of restitution or they want a certain outcome, they have to put that in the complaint, in the actual documentation. For those that know me personally, you know that I do paralegal work, so I know this 100% to be true. But when they put that in a complaint and in a legal document, it is literally called a prayer. It's literally called a prayer. So you want laws to change. You want your senator to do this. You want your congressman to do this. You want all these laws. You want to say the law. Okay, all you're doing is praying. You want reparations. All you're doing is praying. You ain't doing nothing different from grandma. A prayer for relief in the law of civil procedure is a portion of a complaint in which the plaintiff describes the remedies that the plaintiff seeks from the court. And I'll show you an example. This is a boilerplate court document. What does that say at the top? Prayer for relief. Black Lives Matter. Give us justice. Ingawa. We want black power. Prayer for relief. And then if we ain't doing that, we voting. What does a vote mean? Let's go to the root of vote. Volere. The Latin word volere, which means to vow. To vow. The same kind of vows that are exchanged during a wedding, which is a religious ceremony. So you praying, you begging, you vowing, you marrying into this world when you stand in line for 2 hours to vote for a government that will never be to your benefit. So to my Black Lives Matter brothers and sisters out there, if you striving for your people in the best way you know how, I understand. I'm not knocking you. But don't tell me you're not religious. You are very religious. I don't care about what kind of life you live. It's just you don't believe in a theological God. But you absolutely believe in a God. you absolutely believe in a God. Shout out to everybody chiming in. I see you. I see you, brother Orlando. We're gonna be on about maybe 2 or 3 more minutes. Actually, I'm gonna basically wind it down right now. To close this point, let me say this. Because in the Holy Quran, which is the book of the Muslims, there's a reason why in Islam we say that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. Why did God even see fit to have to remind the people that there is no God but Allah? Because he understood the true meaning of religion and the fact that there were so many pagan gods and religions. And in the Holy Quran, Surah 9, verse 31, it says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, they take their doctors of law. We just talked about the law, didn't we? They take their doctors of law and their monks for lords besides Allah and also the Messiah, son of Mary. And they were enjoined that they should serve one God only. There is no God but he. Be he glorified from what they set up with him. 32 says they desire to put out the light of Allah with their mouths. And Allah will allow nothing save the perfection of his light, though the disbelievers are averse. This is directed directly to those who think that they're not religious, but their ministers and their reverends are their monks and their doctors of law. You religious as hell because you in hell, and hell is your religion. Now, closing out, let me say this, and this is why this is really titled, this video is titled that you are too religious. Another little bit of Islamic history. Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah, peace be upon him, he did a wonderful thing in the years 629 and 630. He took 10,000 fearless Muslims and retook Mecca in Arabia, because this structure right here, which has a deep connotation and deep meaning, that you always see Muslims making 7 circuits around for Umrah and Hajj. Prophet Muhammad took those 10,000 soldiers to Mecca, and he took back this structure right here, which was actually built by Abraham many years before Prophet Muhammad. But when he took it back, he found 360 different statues and idols in and around the Kaaba. That's what it's called, the Kaaba. And this Kaaba, interestingly enough, as taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, really represents the Aboriginal man and woman. So Prophet Muhammad found idols and pagan gods in and around, 360 of them to be exact. And he went up in there and he got rid of all those pagans, got rid of all those idols. And that's why his own tribe, the Quraysh, which were all idolaters, they hated him for that, and they went to war with him, and they sought to kill him over that, because he took the Kaaba back and he got rid of the idols. I say all of that to say this, family. How many idols and pagan gods do you have in your Kaaba? The Aboriginal black mind. How many pagan gods do you have in your mind that you got to clear out, as Prophet Muhammad did? Now, before I get out of here, you have people who will say that the thing that they don't like about religion is how it was used for slavery. It was used for this. It was used for that. It was used, even a famous philosopher said that religion is the opiate of the people, which is true. A lot of people have a very spooky understanding of religion, and that causes them, just like a drug, an opiate, it causes them to be lethargic, to be spooky, to not move out, not do things, and that's true. But let's be clear, before you use the excuse that you don't want to go deeper into an understanding and relationship with God because of what the white man did to it and what he used it for. Let's be clear. This white, you take a look at these Proud Boys and these white militia, they always, and even the police, they have plenty of weapons on them, don't they? They got mace, they got them Rambo knives, they got guns, they got assault weapons, handguns, they got the whole nine. Because that's the nature of this beast. He uses anything he can get his hands on and uses it as a weapon. This is a fact. We know this to be true. In fact, let's go down the line and we're going to get up out of here. You say, oh, I'm not into religion. I'm into guns. Okay. Has the white man used guns as a weapon, just as he's used religion? Let's ask Sandra Bland. Let's ask Brianna. Let's ask George. Let's ask Ahmad. Let's ask Mike. Let's ask Philando. Let's ask Trayvon. Do they use the gun as a weapon? Drugs? Do they use drugs as a weapon? We already talked about weed. What about crack and the scourge that's put our people through in the last 40 years? Oh, they use religion as a, they did this with religion. Okay, what have they done with food? Some of y'all on y'all way to Popeyes right now. What are they doing with food? Genocide. It's processed. It's not even real food. They're killing you. Are you going to put that down? You're going to put the guns down? You're going to put the dope down? You're going to put the fast food down? Are you? Look at the rates of respiratory disease and heart disease and diabetes. It's just climbing every day like Bitcoin. What about medicine? Does the white man use medicine? You're going to stop taking Tylenol? Don't take that vaccine, that COVID-19 vaccine. In fact, be careful about any vaccine. But are you going to stop taking any type of medicine? You get a headache, you done? You ain't doing no medicine? What's their history using the needle? Hell, what's their history using sex? How do they use sex? What kind of weapons have they formed knowing our appetite for sex that they feed? They feed our appetite for sex, and then they hit us with the with the go-ahead home run. Good God almighty. Hell, man, they use automobiles. Go ask, what was her name, that so-called princess in England? They killed her with a car accident. Princess Diana. Hell, they even use airplanes as weapons. Don't think there was some Arabs. So they use a lot of things. This enemy will use anything. So don't use that as your deceptive intelligence. If you didn't know what religion was, then I hope you know that religion is anything that you constantly return to over and over again, regardless of who tries to stop you and regardless of if that thing is good for you or not. Listen, I'm your brother. I appreciate y'all chiming in. I appreciate y'all showing love once again, Nation Town TV. Make sure you go to YouTube and subscribe. Make sure you go to nationtownstore.com. And again, I'm your brother. I'm going to leave you as I first met you tonight in the words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.